More?
Well, it's ironic you say that because this is called Liberal, Kansas, where the Dorothy Museum is, where the house for Dorothy is. There it is. Dorothy's house. Dorothy's house is there where it goes over the rainbow. So now in the movie, Sean Connery goes over the rainbow, and they built this weird airbase here too.
And then we've
Sean
got
Connery
the
goes over the rainbow to go to Zardoz, and here is Zardoz in the middle of the mouth of Zardoz, but Zardoz is set into the North American plate in a pareidolia-like shape. It can't be changed. Having Liberal, Kansas, and Dorothy's house, I didn't know that was going to be there. I saw this first. I saw this. I was just goofing around. I was super high, sitting there looking at the freaking screen, probably like somebody in the 1970s was doing it. I was high. I was looking at the screen, and I said, hey, that looks like the head of Zardoz. That's weird. I wonder what's at the mouth. And I zoomed in on the mouth, and I sees the Liberal, Kansas, and I knew that the Dorothy Museum was in Liberal, Kansas because I've driven through Kansas before. So I'm like, holy sh! You got to be kidding me.
You know, so what just said,
and then here
dots in the comments section. I just have to point out that Dorothy is Dot. You know, Dot is short for Dorothy. So quite literally connecting dots right now.
Guys, it gets weirder. It gets more weird. This gets more weird. The story doesn't end yet. So Dorothy, the pavement of gold, the yellow brick road, right? Guess what is here next to the Dorothy Museum? They're built part of the same structure. The Coronado Museum, a tribute to Coronado. Coronado was the Spaniard searching for the lost city of gold and the Fountain of Youth. Now, get this. At the Coronado Museum, they have a statue of Coronado. And he's dressed as a Spaniard wearing the full costume that Sean Connery wears in Highlander. Now, Sean Connery, after Sean Connery was in Zardoz, a few years later, Sean Connery played Coronado's chief metallurgist. He hops over. Highlander and his wife are making out at a wall, like in the Middle Ages or something. And here comes Sean Connery over the wall on a horse, and he's like, hello, I am Sean Connery. I am the chief Spaniard. Now, they're in Scotland. Why isn't Sean Connery playing a Scottish Highlander?
To be fair, Sean Connery always plays a Scottish person, even when he's on a Russian submarine.
Right.
Russian
so
captain of the Red October.
He's the chief metallurgist for Coronado.
In the
and
movie,
he announces this in the movie. So now they have the Coronado Museum right next to the Dorothy Museum. And then you got Sean Connery playing Zardoz, who goes over the rainbow to go to the Illuminati base, where there's a secret underground Illuminati base where they're living forever. And here at this base, they just so happen to have every fighter jet known to man in a museum stored ready to fly.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Would it
in the
suck
middle
if
of the
you were
mouth
the
of
guy that
Zardoz?
gets stuck with one of the shit planes?
How many?
F-35?
This is true pareidolia, though. This is like
earthquakes. Have you noticed from that spot? Is that how you first became aware of it, or was it you said you drove through there?
I knew about the Dorothy house because I had driven through there going out to Colorado. My wife and I make a southern turn and went down to Pueblo and then went up through the south, and we stopped at the museum. But I didn't know about the head of Zardoz until I watched Zardoz. And then I didn't put any of it together until I'm sitting there one day looking at, well, believe it or not, I was looking at radar on my local weather map here, which shows it much better, even believe it or not, than Google Earth, because it's a little bit more low resolution. And I'll just say it, I was a little high when I was looking at the map, but it was true pareidolia that I saw it on here better, that I saw the head of Zardoz here with the two eyes and the mouth. And I zoomed in and I said, oh, wow, there's the mouth of Zardoz right there where Sean Connery jumped in. And then I zoomed in and I saw that the direct center of the mouth was Liberal, Kansas. And then I said, oh, shit, that's where Dorothy's house is. And then that means somebody in the 1970s was sitting there tripping on acid or something. And they were looking at the view and they saw this head here and they wrote a movie about it. Or there's some real base there. There's like a real underground base there.
That's why I'm asking about the earthquakes. Like, I guess if they were expanding it or construction, you'd see a whole bunch of little ones. Like, only if they were building now.
There are.
It's built, right?
Brother, like, there are. That's all.
Why I bring that up.
That's where the thousands of Oklahoma fracking earthquakes go right up to there and stop right there. Every day for the last 12 years, I've been keeping watch. We start at the Panhandle, right?
Stop right there. They stop right there.
Or they start right there, actually, is a way to put it. Is that starting right there, we go, so that maybe that would be the entrance to the base there. And it would go down below all of Oklahoma.
That there's not the consistent land and the waves are like, it's a different medium there. So it most likely is an air gap instead of a solid or liquid for those waves to continue through, especially them being seismic waves. Isn't that pretty much like direct evidence that there is a giant cavern in that spot that the waves stop or start there, the earthquakes?
It could be. It would make a lot of sense if there was open areas for it to travel through or around. And the big one that I found that I showed you at the start of the update, it points right into his mouth. So like this thing really points down into the mouth of Zardoz, the one that I showed you that goes all the way through the mouth of Zardoz down to our weird underwater base that's down here that looks like the lines in Nazca, Peru. But this is 5,000 feet under the ocean. So this right here is 5,000 feet down in the ocean, but it connects back into this one that goes back up through the mouth of Zardoz right to our arrow. And Dorothy's house is right in the middle of it, which is really odd. Somebody's got to know.
Well, I mean, that could be an antenna going literally underneath, the USA, right?
It could be.
Yeah. Or tunnel.
So these guys, which I'm going to explore on boots on the ground in May here as the snow melts in Canada, but the famous indigenous Western Plains warrior, as well as in the same Badlands Valleys hill area, there's this guy, the Aztec Mayan feather serpent helmets warrior, and that I also believe to the top of the warrior's head here on the top eastern right is another Olmec's face, as well as what looks like a Viking head on the very top of the warrior's forehead and crown of his head here. But that the Ferrum Foundation has gotten extra evidence of the purpose of all of these massive earthenworks and the evidence that it's not just pareidolia. You see these numbers here, these different sites around the valley in Medicine Hat, Alberta, and that they are in fact what he's deciphered as geoglyphs, or these radial earthenwork geoglyphs. You can see these lines, these straight lines going the same direction as these arrows that he's marked out. And that, in fact, that these are earthen works of megalithic stone or earthen soil that is raised above the ground, and that mark specific lengths and angles that then plot out as these different radials from these sites, that when you take the exact angle and its length and put it on, that it gives you times his mathematical equation that I need to find the time to actually read the chapter to get what it is so I can confirm all of this. But point being, it plots out to specific geographic locations across the world and all the other ancient sites. And that pretty much also confirms that all of these massive, seen from above, terraforming structures were for mapping and keeping track of territories.
Now, can I throw out some food for thought on that? I hear whispers. Now, take this with a grain of salt, of course, maybe even a whole bag of salt. But I hear whispers that there's tunnels that are underneath those geoglyphs, and the connections that you made on the topographical maps are actually tunnel connections between point A and point B. So as you go deeper down, the connection itself is actually closer between point A and point B if we're on a sphere. It's interesting thought. Love to find out.
Indeed. So apparently with plotting these out, you need both flat maps and the globe. It's pretty interesting that you need both for the system to work. And when it comes to flat versus spherical round, that mathematically neither can be proven wrong. They're both accurate to the point that whether it's heliocentric or, sorry, what's the other term for it? The second one, heliocentric. Anywho,
Geocentric.
the two different, they both work, and you can never disprove one or the other. Thus, both must exist simultaneously. And for this geoglyphology to work, both also need to be plotted out using a flat and spherical curved mapatures with it. And here you can see the lines. Those are some of those radials, those geoglyphic earthenworks that he uses. So that's going to be one of the main things that we're going to confirm when we go explore this spot in May this summer. And it's going to be a YouTube meetup. So anyone Western Canada, Western US wants to come, or any rich sponsors want to come to Southern Alberta Badlands for the heck of it. Yeah, we're going to do a week here. This, what looks like an ear pod or earbud going up to his ear area, is actually a gravel road and an oil derrick. So that's how large from above this picture is. And that you can see here that it's not, another way you know it's not pareidolia is that this is it from the fall, this is it in like the spring, but this is regular, or maybe, anyways, throughout the different seasons, so that the shadowing and the angles to capture these images, it's beyond a shadow of a doubt, pardon the pun, that to give the actual depth and features of this face and these faces that you're seeing, and that it's impossible. And they claimed the same for the face on Mars, that, oh, pareidolia, and it didn't look like it, when in fact, if you actually do a deep dive into all of the official pictures released, whatever the heck it is up there, that when you give them scrutiny, Richard Hoagland's work, shout out to him, showing that there was from different angles at different times of year, and once again, it would still create the features that show that these are indeed faces and depicting different things. Just like Dutch, you found all of the geoglyphs down there in Florida of the iguana, as well as the different buffalo and shapes. Was that in Idaho, or where was that one you found? And you muted, Dutch.
Oh, okay. No, I found the geoglyphs of several of them. The ones up in Idaho, they had turned the area into, it was a war fought over the location. Hog farmers had started bringing their hogs in the early 1800s onto this sacred land for the Native Americans up in Idaho. Anyway, found that earthquake struck below it. And I zoomed in on it. I said, you got to be kidding me. What is this? People told me first it must be farmers paying tribute to the Native Americans by carving the shapes in. And now, of course, it's slammed